Well, howdy there, nerds, and as you can see, it's time to talk about our great big boy dressed in red and everything you can get from him, and all of the exciting things that are coming with it. So, I'm just going to say this right now. Walhart is incredibly amazing as a free-to-play unit, not only in his abilities that he already has that are unique to his own, but also in fodder ability in case you just aren't invested. So, well, enough blathering, let's just dive in. Let's start with stats. Now, two stats that I want to point out. Attack and defense are exceptionally high. 37 is... wow, that is on a Cavalier too, even better. And then, of course, 36 defense. Yeah, why not? Sure, let's just throw that in there. Then, of course, you know, we might look at his speed and go, that's not exactly great, but okay, 27's fine. His res is pure poop. You're probably not going to want to, just throw him at a mage, obviously, but you do need to pay attention to one thing that we're going to be talking about here, and that is in his base kit. Let's talk about his base kit, what you're getting when you just, get Walhart. So, if you manage to upgrade him to 5 stars, you're going to get Wolfberg, his exclusive weapon, and it grants +3 defense inherently. Beautiful. Majestic. That means that he has 39 defense normally. And then, of course, you add the additional effect from his weapon that if you just happen to be throwing him into enemy territory by his lonesome and he's surrounded by enemies, he will gain a benefit. And that is +4 to every stat. So, technically, he could have 43 defense if he happens to, get that going. So, cool. That's nice. Then, of course, we toss in some other things like Luna, sure. And then also Granny Shield. I know that's probably not how it's pronounced, but I just like the idea of Walhart trying to fend off a mob of grannies, okay? Don't look at me like that. I'm not crazy, I swear. But the big thing that you're probably looking forward to is Chill Defense. That is in his B slot, and it is inheritable, but of course, I do have to remind you that that is locked behind a 5-star exclusivity. So therefore, you're going to have to upgrade him to 5 stars with feathers to gain access to that. So it's really up to you if you want to fodder that off, or if you're just going to go for Walhart all in, just go. I can't talk right now, but yes, that is a lot to digest. There's a lot of great possibilities there. So if you're keeping him as a unit, a lot of you might be asking, well, what exactly should I use for his skills? Is there really anything that you can do to make him even better? Well, of course there are. There are a lot of options. I'm going to go through a few of them just on what I can think of, okay? So, I'm just going to say right now, the A slot is going to be highly, highly contested. There are so many options for him. Obviously, a lot of people are going to just be like, distant counter. But I'm going to go with, A slots that are a little bit cheaper and things that you can aim for, and then we'll just kind of ratchet up from there, okay? Namely, I don't want to use things like Fury too much, but there's also the possibility of things like, say, Fortress Defense, which grants, additional defense to him, which he already has a lot of, and then, it may inflict a little bit of a, damage decrease on him, but with his weapon and the additional effects that he can get there, he can easily transcend those without having to worry. And that's just one option. You can, of course, go with things like Fury if you really feel like it's necessary, or if you happen to be lucky, and extremely lucky, you could go with certain things like, Steady Stance, which will just grant him more defense when in combat if he's, being attacked, or things like Sturdy Stance, which is just the trade-off of that, and ironically is from Legendary Ephraim. Those are so many possibilities. For me, right now, with me, I'm just going to be going with Fortress Defense. I just like the idea of it. It just seems kind of cool. But, Steady Stance is also a very good option. God, I just thinking about it, it's kind of scary. Now, of course, in B slots, you can go with things like Quick Riposte. I just like this because, well, usually he's going to be dealing with melee units, and they're going to be attacking him. They're not going to be doing much damage, and you want to do more damage to them. And, well, this is a guaranteed choice. You can, of course, go with other things. If you happen to be not using Quick Riposte, maybe you're using instead in his B slot something like his already pretty good Chill Defense 3. You could instead go with something like Brazens in his A slot, like Brazen Attack and Defense from Ares. There are a lot of great options there, but this is just what I'm going with for simplicity's sake. Now, I like quick riposte, but there's also a lot of other options there. The C skill is highly coveted as well when it comes to this. I'm just going to go with horse buffs. Namely, I'm going to probably give him Hone Cavalry. Just so, he doesn't have to be in the fight with his other horse teammates to be able to, buff them. He can buff them at the start of turn and then run off his own. Because remember, he needs to be able to, be by himself to be able to do this. As long as he actually has that, he will be quite strong. So things like goads and stuff might be a little bit harder to land on him, or you may not be using goads on him at all if you, are using him as a unit in a horse team. It just because he tends to be more of a loner, to be able to access his weapon, which is what we're using. Anyways, but there are a lot of other options if you're crazy. You could also go with things like Odd Attack Wave, which will just, if you happen to have an Ishtar lying around just to kill her off, you could do that too. There are just, the C skills are growing progressively worrisome as time goes on. Then from there, I'm just going to say when it comes to special skills, you're probably going to want to take advantage of the defense. It's just simple. Bonfire. Ignis, if you feel like it, because he will be hitting like a truck with those abilities. He will be doing a lot more. If he happens to, trigger his weapon, maybe trigger something like Steady Stance, it's going to be over 20 damage. Somewhere in the line, that's just going to break it just with Bonfire alone. You could, of course, go with whatever ability you feel like. If you really want to go with Aether or anything like that, you can. But I say Bonfire is probably just the simplistic choice there. And then, if you really want a, Sacred Seal, I would say, since he's in, he tends to be more in line with dealing with melee attackers, I would probably just say something like Close Defense. That's just my idea of a build right there. I mean, if you happen to have a Legendary Ephraim lying around, Sturdy Stance will probably work a lot better, but, those were the options that I had. I would say Fortress Defense is one of the better options. Fury you can work with if you don't want to use Quick Riposte, or God knows what else you want to use. But, well, Walhart has a lot of flexibility. I don't think it's just simply tuned down to one build or another. If you can make his defenses great, while also continuously allowing him to trigger Wolfberg, he is going to go places. He will be exceptionally strong not only in a horse team, but also in a mixed team or even just by himself, which is what he's aiming to be. He's meant to be a unit that can go in there and, permitted, he can do a bit of damage. And he might even be able to, at least survive some mages with that additional 4 res he's gonna get when it gets it up to 20. Ah, God. So, all in all, are you aiming for him or are you going to be foddering him? I would love to know. That's about it for me, nerds. There are so many other possibilities out there for you to take part in, but Walhart is coming. Will you accept your Crab Lord, or will you bow down and die before him? Don't die before him. He's a beautiful creature, okay? Alrighty, nerds. Catch you later.